Your Steve Jones Show podcast is loading now. The Steve Jones Show podcast is sponsored by Sunbury Motors, North 4th Street in Sunbury, and Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. Sports talk where your voice counts. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now from the Sunbury Motors studio, here's Steve Jones.
Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Ford, Lincoln, Kia, Hyundai. Great new inventory. What about pre-owned inventory? They have a fabulous selection of that as well. Great deals to be had. Great time to buy. All at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors, Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. All right. We're all out of Yankee highlights. Time now for our play-by-play call of the day.
This is ball to deep center field. Bellinger twisting around, still going. He's at the wall. He leaps, and he made the catch. Tony Bellinger, a robbery of Tatis, keeping the Dodgers in front 4-3.
Joe Davis with a call on Fox Sports 1 last night. Joe is one of the really, I'll talk about Joe Davis in 1 second here. Bellinger, who's always been a terrific regular season player, has always been very much up and down in the postseason. Well, last night he homered, and he made that play to rob Fernando Tatis Jr. of a home run. Bellinger is a big reason why they won last night. So a great postseason performance by him. Joe Davis. Joe Davis is about as nice a guy, because, I've run into Joe and talked with him when he's done football for Fox or FS1, and when he's done basketball. It's great to sit down and talk with him. He has a great perspective on everything. This is the guy that stepped into the Dodgers job after Vin Scully. And guess what? People love him because he's humble. He does a great job. You can tell he's an excellent announcer, and he just does his deal. It's one thing that always needs to be remembered about any job. So let's take my job. People talk about what I do. I've always had the perspective of this. I replaced somebody, Fran Fisher, he retired, and down the road, somewhere, I'm going to get replaced. So I make the most of the time I've got. Simple as that. Just got a text from the back office. Can't happen soon enough. What does that mean? It's unbelievable. But that's a perspective you have to have. You replace somebody. In my case, it was a retirement, which made, by the way, the transition to what Jack and I do easier, because it was a retirement. And somewhere down the road, and I personally hope it's a while down the road. Some of you may have a different opinion, but somewhere down the road, hopefully years from now, because I enjoy the job so much, somebody will end up replacing me. Well, Joe Davis stepped in when Vin Scully decided to retire, and he's been great. All right. Somebody does a great job. Scranton Times-Tribune, Donnie Collins. Donnie, welcome. Great to have you with us.
Good to be here, Steve.
All right. Last night, James Franklin, Tyler Bowen addressed the media. It really is the midway point as they get ready for the upcoming season. Any general impressions from what you heard?
Yeah, I think this is a confident program right now. This has been such a crazy run since August 11th to now, and I think they're just. I think they're just like everybody else. They're just waiting to go out there and play. They think this team was going to be very good. They still think it's going to be that way. And I think they're looking forward to getting potentially some parents in the stadium, which I thought was really interesting after after some talk that wasn't going to happen. But I think that's what really stands out to me. It makes this a little bit different of a season. It's usually obviously a life and death situation for for football coaches, this is, it's a football game. It's their livelihood. It's what they, the winning and losing matters to them more than it matters to anybody else outside of the players. And I think this year, I think there's a sense that they're focusing on not just being a good football team, but they have a chance to do something they didn't think they were going to get to do, and that's play a game. And I think that matters a little more this year.
It's also something that's been a pattern for Penn State football over decades. Is you play a game. Normally it's against a team or a program that you have more talent than, and you find out in a game that you probably can win 9.8 times out of 10. The mistakes that you make, but you can get away with, but then you can correct and get ready for the next game, which is probably a bigger and better game. This will be the first of 3 straight years where Penn State is going to open the season in conference. It'll be at Indiana. Next year it'll be at Wisconsin. Then it's Purdue in 22. What about opening in conference like this cold without having that game in front where maybe you could work out a few things along the way?
Yeah, if I'm Penn State, I'm really nervous about this one. I mean, it's first of all, you mentioned every reason that every common sense reason to be nervous about it. Number one, you haven't played in forever. You're coming out. It's college football, so you're coming off of no real preseason. You're not scrimmaging. You're not whatever another team at least. And Indiana's good, so you're on the road.
That's right.
So I mean, I think that's the one thing we've seen this year, and you saw it a couple times. Some SEC teams going down, some upsets. This is why teams schedule patsies in the first week, if they can do it. You don't come out playing your biggest game of the year, and I think everyone's going to be. There's a danger in looking at Ohio State this year as the second game, and the second week. But there isn't. Ohio State doesn't matter if you go to Bloomington and don't win, and that's possible. I mean, Indiana's a decent team, and there's a lot we don't know right now. How is the no fans thing gonna play out? How does that change the atmosphere? Does it change it enough to where these guys have to take two quarters to adjust to it or something like that? So, and the other thing is, how sharp are you coming out of coming into late October, having not played a game since the Cotton Bowl? So, yeah, I don't. That's the one thing I kind of like about college. I always like the early season game against the team you've never even heard of before. If you're a casual fan and you don't know anybody on the team, and of course it could be a 79-0 game, but you do find out about yourself. And I think this game you better, and next year obviously, and the year after, you better know yourself a little bit going into these.
They had 10 walkthroughs starting in late July, 4 preseason practices. Then when they were told it was a no-go, they were then allowed to do skill instruction, which I think that ended up being 14. This will be practice 14 today. So that's actually 42 when you add them all up. When you're trying to install some new stuff, subtle or not, how much has Penn State, do you think, been helped? I mean, we'll find out for real in 16 days, but how much do you think Penn State's been helped in installation by now having 42 opportunities to go out in the field and teach some of this stuff?
I would imagine it's helped. And I could be proven completely wrong. They can go out and lay an egg against Indiana, and it wouldn't be the most shocking thing I've ever seen. But I on paper and in my mind, I think it should help. I think that's one benefit of this for Penn State is, Kirk Ciarrocca could now do whatever he wants with the offense. I think he can install a little more of it. It's they're far enough away from Ricky Ronnie's offense to now where they can maybe add. They could be. I'm not saying they're going to be where they would have been on October 24th on a normal year.
That's right.
But they could be where they were at on September 24th or September 30th. Mm-hmm. I think pretty easily. So, I mean, this could be completely prove me wrong. And I just think there's so much more time, so much more ways to meet now. And I don't think there's any excuse for not installing a little more of the offense, having a little better understanding of it from the players' standpoint. And I think they are going to do it that way. I mean, one of the things that kind of struck me about talking to the players over media day is they're kind of admitting that this is a little bit different for them. Position by position, the new offense does demand some different things of them, and they're getting it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they said it wasn't immediate, but they're starting to get it, and I think that extra time should help, and I think it will.
Yeah, no, I think so as well. Well, what's your thoughts on what we could see from Sean Clifford?
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's your first year you're learning everything. The second year that should be your big jump. I think that's especially true at the quarterback spot. And everybody talks about the kid's competitiveness and how hard he works, and that's all well and good. But end of the day, you gotta play well. And I think he played well most of last season, and there's no reason to think he won't play better. But I'm interested to see what he does. I would rather not see him running as much. Not that he's not a good runner. It's one of those things where I think he's back of a passer, and if he's not a banged up player, then he'll be better down the stretch. I think the 8 games probably helped him. To maybe run a little bit more than I'd like for him to run and have it be successful. But I think this year he should take a big step up. Obviously, accuracy on the deep ball I think is the big thing for him, because that's where he really struggled on the stretch last year. But I think you could attribute a lot of that to he got really banged around in the running game. And I asked him early last season about that. He had run on average a lot more than he was running in high school. And he admitted, he was a little concerned about it, but he was going to put the trust in the coaching staff and the offense, and he figured he'd be healthy enough. And it turned out he wasn't. So this year he's got to stay healthy, because he's a top 2 or 3 quarterback in the Big Ten if he's healthy to me.
When you look at the defense, we know that going in, we would be talking a lot about Micah Parsons. So he's not going to be there. So who do you look at on that defense that can be that leadership type of guy that can make a difference for them in these games?
Well, you look at it 2 different ways of leadership. One is who leads by what they're doing on the field, and the other one is who leads by what's going on behind the scenes. And I think I think Jesse Luquette is a guy, that the more I talk to him, the more impressive he is. He understands how great Micah was. He understands what a talent that guy was, what a difference he was going to make. But he does not believe that this is going to negatively affect Penn State's defense at all. Because I thought it was very sneaky of James Franklin during his press conference. Kind of said, that's a position of strength.
That's
linebacker.
Right.
So even losing Micah Parsons, you look at what they have. It's extremely impressive at who's out there, and I thought that was a really bold statement to answer a question about Micah Parsons, who's a generational talent, to say that's still a position of strength for us, and it is. But I really like that Luquette is taking that view of it. Lamont Wade, also a guy. Everybody knows his leadership capabilities,
mm-hmm.
but I think as players, I think the 2 guys who everybody expects is going to step up, and everybody I talk to. He's got some great quotes about these 2 guys with Isaac and Owe. I think everybody kind of thinks that they're going to be that they're freaks of nature. They're going to be dominant players, and that'll be very, very interesting to see. And I think I heard two or three different players asked who's the one player nobody's talking about enough, and they all said Isaac.
Yeah.
So Owe gets a lot of attention. He's working out with Micah and the draft and stuff like that. But Isaac could be a really good player, and I think he showed flashes last year. So I would expect those 2 guys on the defensive line to be the on-field guys who make the difference during games. But look at guys like Antonio Shelton, Fred Hansard, Luquette, Wade. I think those guys are the heart and soul of defense.
And don't ever forget Shaka Tony. All right.
Shaka. I forget Shaka.
Nobody can ever forget, because if you ask Adisa Isaac and you ask Jason Owe,
no, they'll tell you Shaka.
In our room, they'll say Shaka right away. Hey, Donnie, thanks so much. Really appreciate you. Can't wait to see you.
Yeah, same here, Steve.
Donnie Collins, Scranton Times-Tribune, back with more in a moment on News Radio 1070 WKOK, brought to you by Sunbury Motors. I asked the suit about being a dental hygienist, as a matter of fact, and he said that he stayed at a Holiday Inn last night. he worries me. I just get very concerned.
Even if I stayed in a Holiday Inn Express, I would not want to do that or be smart enough to do that.
No. I just try to stay in my own lane, man. I just try to stay in my own lane. All right, let's get you up to date on baseball. The Braves, I'll say this, the Braves have been pitching great in the postseason. Not good, great. And, yeah, I know they're up 7-0, but to me the thing's the nothing part. And between the Reds and the Marlins, they have not been able to score on this team. Braves pitching staff has been terrific. And they win today. They're in the National League Championship Series, and they're up 7-0 in this game. And, normally, you look at the long ball, they haven't hit any home runs in this game. They have not hit any home runs in this game. They've just been going at it. Marcell Ozuna singled, drove in one. D'Arnaud doubled, drove in two. Dansby Swanson hit a sac fly. Freeman knocked in a couple. Swanson singled, knocked in another one. Duvall then doubled. Dansby Swanson scored. Up 7-0. About him 9-3. And this is the day where, after Anderson was so awesome, this is the day that they handed the ball to Kyle Wright. And Kyle Wright has been terrific like the rest of the staff. And it's interesting, these last two starts he had against the Marlins, he lost. Not today. He's not going to lose today. Oakland needs to keep winning to stay alive. They're down 2-1, and guess what? They're winning. Bottom of the third, they lead Houston 3-0 in this game. Laureano has hit a 3-run homer. And so Ramon Laureano has been able to hit a 3-run shot in this game, and that's the difference so far. 3-0 Oakland in the bottom half of the third inning. Later will be the Yankees against Tampa Bay. Let's check out Ryan Thompson goes for Tampa Bay tonight against Jordan Montgomery.
Yeah, we'll see how this goes.
We'll see how this goes. Really?
I haven't been a fan of Montgomery this year. He's been another Mr. Inconsistent.
Well, he speaks highly of you. 2-1, 3.71. 44 innings, 48 hits. But the strikeout to walk deal is better than 5-1. 47 strikeouts, 9 walks. But he's given up 7 home runs. Yeah. It is a relatively big number.
Yeah, that's why I don't like this matchup. Because you just see the way the Rays are hitting right now, especially with Randy Arenzarilla. Holy Moses. He has been hitting the heck out of the ball. He's 12 for 21 this entire postseason so far. And he's just destroyed the Yankees. He homered again last night.
Yeah. Well, this is a bullpen day, I think. That sound right for the Rays?
I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not sure.
Ryan Thompson will be the opener. So you got a submarine sidearm to start with. So the Rays will use 72 pitchers tonight. Now, I think that's kind of a high number. That's just me.
Well, the Yankees did it in Game 2, got too cute, and it may cost them the series now.
Well, this is what they do, though. They do have, look, between Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, and Charlie Morton, they have 3 legit starters. Okay? They do have that. And that's what they've done. They haven't done this the first time they've done the opener in the series.
And this also goes back to Cashman not addressing pitching at the trade deadline. You're right, too. They haven't developed it. They need to do that. But to have not addressed it at all and bring in a guy like a Lance Lynn, to me, is just completely inexcusable.
Adrian Morejon tonight for the Padres, and the Dodgers are going to do the bullpen thing with Dustin May starting tonight. Dodgers up 2-0. Last night's game was terrific. And Houston and Tulane tonight. This will be, Houston's hoping it's the third time the charm. This is the third opening game they've scheduled this year. It looks like it actually might happen. That's at 7:30 tonight. Houston is a 6.5-point favorite.
Taking your calls at 800-795-9565. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Ford, Lincoln, Kia, Hyundai. Great pre-owned inventory as well. Those new lines, Ford, Lincoln, Kia, Hyundai, can't go wrong. But you also can't go wrong with pre-owned inventory because they really go over it for you. And if that happens to be either what you prefer, what your budget prefers, they'll make it work for you. Great service department, great sales staff as well. All at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Les Miles has tested positive for coronavirus. They say he could return for the October 17th game. He will do his job virtually between now and probably then. So he is tested positive. Anthony Lynn has named Justin Herbert the Chargers starting quarterback. Stunning. So there you go. So he's officially in as the starter. And Carlos Dunlap of the Bengals has voiced his frustration about a shift in his role on the team to being a third down pass rusher. I'd be more frustrated I was with the Bengals, but that's okay. It's a different story. Just me.
Maybe that's added to it as well. He's been there his whole career.
I know. I've had enough. So there you go. Let's get you up to date on everything that's going on. College basketball scheduling is a real lot of twists and turns. It's taking a while. They think that most will have their schedules done by November 1st. All right. We'll go from there. Anything we pick up along the way, we'll pass along. Kevin Sumlin, Arizona's coach, is eyeing a return to the sidelines. Now, we know he has COVID, but he's asymptomatic. He feels perfectly fine. Bobby Bowden, by the way, is back in the hospital. And the SEC has warned of fines and bans for any COVID-19 violations. Again, the entire idea, keep the season alive. That's what they're trying to do here. And for Tennessee, the Titans, I think the number's up to 24. It was it 14 players? Does that sound right?
It's 13 players, 10 staff, 23 total.
23 total.
Had another one this morning.
Their wide receiver core has really been hit, right?
Yeah, Corey Davis was just added today.
But
that's a big one.
Like, there's a bunch of wide receivers that are there. They haven't released all the names, but supposedly that's one of the position groups that's been hit hard. And the Titans were warned about not practicing before they went out and practiced. They were warned about it.
Yeah, they need to just forfeit already.
To me, if I'm the NFL, that's what I do. I mean, it's the ultimate. It's the ultimate thing to do. I think it sends a message to everybody else.
Because at this point, if they can't play the Bills, which looks pretty much unlikely now at this point, the Bills play Thursday night against Kansas City. They would have to move that game to Saturday if they were to try to play the game Monday, or the Bills-Titans game Monday or Tuesday. So now you're giving this the Bills yet again, but if you forfeit, it was said today on the Dan Patrick Show, I guess there's a clause somewhere in the players' contracts that if there's the forfeits made, I guess the game checks for everybody involved would be voided, which, to me, I mean, I guess if he's not playing, it is, but they should somehow make an exception to get the Bills players paid, but not the Titans.
Right. Well, that's something they'll have to work out with the union. And a forfeit goes in as a loss. I don't like the idea. Well, first of all, let's start with this. What you said, 13 players. So they have a 53-man roster. Well, for the 40 players that are negative, what, you're going to deny me a check? I did everything right. Right?
We think, unless you were part of the crowd that went to practice at that Nashville school, then it's a different story.
And, well, I think the Tennessean has that video. That's who got it. And, wow.
And also, if I'm the league, Steve, if I can find out who those players are definitively in that video, they shouldn't play the rest of the year.
Well, your kid's going to have a hard time growing up with all these rules.
I'm just saying, just follow the protocol. I mean, first of all, it should have been just common sense when you have an outbreak on your team and you're still going to meet with your teammates, let alone in public somewhere. It's just selfish. And now, because of this, you're throwing everybody else off the bandwagon with the Steelers last week, the Bills this week. They shouldn't play the rest of the year. They shouldn't. And I'll tell you another thing, too. Mike Vrabel, he should be suspended through the Steelers game. And obviously, you should give a hefty fine. Those would be the punishments I would hand down if I'm the NFL to the Titans.
Well, your kid's going to be locked in his room like 4 days out of the week. I'm starting to get concerned. Forfeit's one thing. I would do that. Say, look, I'm sorry, but we got to move forward. I actually saw somebody write an article saying that the Patriots have had, Cam Newton and Stephon Gilmore. They say that the Patriots should shut down and not play this weekend. No.
Well, actually, there was reports out there today that the Patriots took it on their own prerogative and shut down the facility themselves.
Right, which is fine. That's what they want to do. That's fine. That's their prerogative. But they're saying, don't play this weekend.
Yeah, no.
No. Not going to happen. The NFL's going to look at him and go, no. Supposedly the Patriots have been going through, obviously, testing and so forth, and I believe they have not found anything else.
Correct. There were no new positives as of this morning. Everybody came back negative from last night's testing.
Yeah. They've got the Broncos this weekend.
Correct, and that's a 4:25 game.
Oh, buy them more time. And tonight, Tom Brady plays against the Bears. I know you're excited.
Yes, this is going to be a great matchup. Good reminiscent for me, at least. With Nick Foles getting the start for the Bears, first time they're facing each other since Super Bowl 52.
The Bears can play defense, but they're going to get crushed.
Yeah, I don't see this game being that competitive. I think that I like the Bucks big tonight.
And you have Ole Miss against Alabama, so of course they're playing up Lane Kiffin against Nick Saban. Okay. I'm really big on looking at personnel. I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, Nick Saban's about to go 21-0 versus his former assistants.
Unreal. I always love this. Oh, it's a big the coaches. Oh, please. Please, please, please. I mean, I understand he used to be there. I understand it's Lane Kiffin. I got it. You know, Georgia, Tennessee is interesting this weekend. Let's give Tennessee some credit. They have won, 8 games in a row? Going back to last year, 9 games in a row? I thought they should have lost their bowl game to Indiana. I watched that game. Watching it, I thought, wow, Indiana's this, and all of a sudden Tennessee rallied in the fourth quarter and won. I remember talking to Peyton Ramsey about that back in March. He was at Northwestern contemplating transfer, which he eventually did, and he was the starting quarterback for Indiana in that game. Stevie Scott got hurt, their running back, couldn't play. Because he couldn't play, I think it opened the door for they put too much on Ramsey. He had to do too much in that game, and he really, in a lot of ways, kept them in it by himself because he just didn't have a running game to help him out. Now he's at Northwestern. I don't know if he's going to win the starting. I think he'll win the starting job at Northwestern, but we'll see. I couldn't believe I ran into him in the lobby. He had a backpack. And the backpack was a Gator Bowl. But, well, that struck me. I looked at him. I go, oh my God. I said, how about that's Peyton Ramsey? So I talked to him for like maybe 5-10 minutes, talked to his parents. Nice people. He was just looking for one last shot. And he ended up signing with Northwestern. I think he'll win the job there. If he's healthy, he'll win the job. Iowa's had a couple of players opt out, including Diamond Colbert, their starting linebacker. He's opted out. So, if you're not comfortable, I don't blame you. Tonight on the Penn State Coaches Show, Guy Godowski on Penn State ice hockey, opening half hour. Terry Smith on defensive backs, final half hour. Today we are John Huffnagel, Brian Gelsheiser, Jair Brown. You know what that means? They either used to wear, or, in the latter case, now currently wear 16. We have 16 days to go before the opener with Indiana. And I think we'll find out Monday what time that game kicks off. Because I think what everyone has to remember is that we are in the middle of the season. So television has already settled into declaring what they want to do broadcast-wise in 12-day windows. The 12-day window is Monday. Now, I know I have to vote on the All-Big Ten preseason here. I've got to get that vote in by the middle of next week. I have to get that vote in. There was one in Broadcaster of the Year, and I just put in TS. They know what that means. The suit.
That's the code word now. I didn't know that.
TS, the suit. Right? Or you can call him JT, jacket and tie. He'll be the one sitting in the box tomorrow night. Dave Ritchie, man of the people, will be forced to sit outside the box. I know on the surface it sounds cruel, but That's as it is. All right, we'll come back with more in a moment here on News Radio 1070 WKOK. When it comes to car buying, there's the other guy's way, and then there's the SMC way. The other guys force you into a vehicle you really don't want. The Sunbury Motors way lets you take the time you need to browse, ask questions, and take the test drive and think on it. For over 100 years, the Mertz family and all their employees have made your experience the most pleasant one you'll ever have. The other guys won't offer you the best price for your trade, no matter how much they say they will. The SMC way is their promise to provide you with the most money the market shows your vehicle is worth. The SMC way is to offer you all applicable factory rebates on new vehicles and generous discounts. Looking for a pre-owned vehicle? The SMC way checks each vehicle with a 200-mile radius to determine the lowest price, then beat it. It's the lowest price promise, just part of the SMC way. The choice is up to you, the other guy's way or the SMC way. The SMC way wins every time. Sunbury Motors Company in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury, and at sunburymotors.com. Selling more cars and satisfying more customers for over 100 years. All right, great to have you with us on the show today. Thanks to our high school football roundtable, Zach Showers, Greg Wetzel, and the Chief Dave Ritchie. Join us in the 3:30 to 4 half hour. Check it out on the podcast if you'd like to learn more about high school football in the Valley from three great announcers and experts. And Donnie Collins in the 4 o'clock half hour. Great to talk with him about Penn State football. James Franklin met with the media last night after practice. We're getting closer. It's one of those where I think I talked talking with Jack, and I said, okay, we both felt that, maybe they would start playing September 26th. They didn't, whatever. That's all water under the bridge now. But this is one of those times now with everything going on where you're saying to yourself, okay, you're this close. Get to the game. You're this close. All right? You've negotiated all these hurdles to get here. Okay? Now I just need to get to the game. When you're that close, 16 more days. Like, all right. That's what you keep thinking about now, because there's been a postponement here, a postponement there, whatever. Now the SEC so far has been able to go through unscathed. By the way, Florida's going to allow. Now the universities are not going to go along with this. I think they'll probably still continue to limit. But actually, they would be allowed to they would be allowed, I think, to have a full house if they want down in Florida, whether it's Jacksonville, Tampa Bay, Dolphins, Florida Atlantic, Florida State, UCF, USF. But that's interesting. I think they're still going to limit fans down there. Jack Cohn, by the way, the Wisconsin quarterback, evidently had ankle surgery. So, obviously, early on, he will not be playing. They have a freshman, though, I know they're very high on. And they have lots of running backs. Guy Godowski opening guest tonight. And Terry Smith in the final half hour tonight in the Penn State Coaches Show. And then tomorrow we gear up for high school football. Then a big weekend of college football. College football. Tonight, of course, it's the Yankees.
Correct.
It's all about them.
And then we got the Battle of PA on Sunday.
Yeah. The Battle of PA. Eagles and Steelers. Can the
With
Eagles
fans.
make it 2 in a row? Yeah, 7,500 fans. And you know what? If I were the Steelers, I'd be wearing gloves as I did it, but I'd hand out 7,500 terrible towels. Even to a couple Renegade Eagles fans.
Based on the Eagles' injury report, I'm feeling a little bit better. And I think the way the Eagles' defensive line's been playing, that's how they've been able to get to Ben Roethlisberger and beat him. That's how they beat him last time. So I think the Eagles' defense can keep him in it. I just don't know how much the offense is going to be able to sustain protecting Carson Wentz and getting the run game going with that.
Well, here's the problem. With Cam Hayward, T.J. Watt, Bud Dupree, that's going to be, they play downhill defense. And that is a problem. That's not what Carson Wentz needs. He does not need downhill defense right now. Today's show has been brought to you by our good friends at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors, Kia routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Ford, Lincoln, Kia, Hyundai, great pre-owned inventory, all at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury.